Greetings, dear travelers of time, you restless souls drawn to the whispers of the past. Whether you're nestled under a blanket at dawn's first light or gazing at a starlit sky in the quiet of night, I'm delighted you've joined me for this gentle voyage through history's forgotten corners. From bustling cities to tranquil villages, across oceans and continents, we gather as a tapestry of curious minds, united by a love for stories that linger long after the telling. I'd be thrilled to know where you're tuning in from tonight, perhaps a cozy attic in London, a quiet porch in Tokyo, or a lamplit room in New York. Drop a note in the comments with your corner of the world and the hour on your clock. It's a joy to imagine our far-flung fellowship, each of us bound by a shared passion for the tales that shaped our world. If these soothing journeys through history speak to your heart, blending the calm of a bedtime story with the spark of discovery, I invite you to subscribe. That way you'll never miss a chance to wander through the ages with us, exploring the lives and legacies of those who came before. For now, find a comfortable spot, let the day's worries slip away, and allow me to guide you back to a time when the world moved to a different rhythm. Tonight, we'll step into the lives of women in medieval Europe, a sprawling era from the 5th to the 15th century, where stone castles stood tall and village fires glowed against the dusk. It's a world we often picture through the haze of romance, knights in shining armor, ladies in flowing gowns. But the truth is far more complex, often far harsher, especially for women. Their lives were not the fairy tales of ballads and legends. Instead, they faced a reality shaped by rigid traditions, unyielding hierarchies, and a struggle for survival that demanded resilience beyond our modern imagining. From the daughters of peasants to the wives of nobles, women navigated a world where their paths were set by others, their voices often silenced. Yet within those constraints, they carved out moments of strength, love, and defiance that echo through time. As we embark on this journey, I ask you to open your heart to their stories, to see beyond the myths to the flesh and blood women who lived, worked, and dreamed in a world lit by firelight. So settle in, dear listener. Let the present fade as we drift back to an age of flickering torches and tolling bells. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a medieval village, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and earth, ready to walk alongside women whose lives, though distant, still resonate with our own. Let's begin this quiet exploration, hand in hand, into the heart of their world. A world of hardship, yes, but also of unyielding spirit. Ready your mind and soul, for we're about to step across centuries together. Picture a world where the sun dictates the rhythm of life, rising over a landscape both grand and unforgiving. Across the rolling hills of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, stone fortresses loom like silent giants, their turrets casting long shadows over fields tilled by weary hands. Scattered nearby, clusters of low, mud-walled homes huddle together, their thatched roofs patched against the relentless rain. Smoke curls from chimneys, mingling with the crisp morning air, while in the distance, the sharp spires of a stone church pierce the sky. Its bells toll, a solemn call marking the hours, their echoes blending with the bleat of goats and the creak of wooden carts. This is a world of stark contrasts, where the powerful few live in splendor and the many toil in shadow, their days a ceaseless dance with survival. Close your eyes and breathe in the scene. The air carries the sharp tang of burning wood, the earthy musk of livestock, and the faint sweetness of freshly baked bread cooling in a cottage. Listen closely, and you'll hear the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the chatter of villagers bartering in the square, and the low hum of prayers drifting from a monastery. Every sound, every scent, tells a story of a life bound to the land, to labor, and to faith. For the elite, life glitters with embroidered silks, feasts of roasted game, and halls warmed by roaring fires. But for most, existence is a grind of poverty, their homes drafty shelters of wattle and daub, their meals thin broths stretched to feed too many mouths. The line between plenty and want is razor thin, and for women it's sharper still. Born into this world, a medieval woman steps into a reality where every day tests her resilience. From her first breath, she faces a society that values her less, her path carved not by choice, but by custom and command. Whether a peasant's daughter hauling water from a distant well or a noblewoman cloistered in a castle's solar, her life is shaped by forces beyond her control. Survival demands cunning, strength, and an unspoken endurance, for this is an era where a woman's worth is measured by her obedience, her fertility, and her ability to keep the hearth burning. The romantic tales of chivalrous knights and courtly love are but distant songs, overshadowed by the weight of a world that offers little mercy to its daughters. As we step into this distant past, let's pause to ground ourselves. We carry the lens of our modern world, its comforts, its ideals of fairness, and it's tempting to judge what we find. But to truly hear these women's stories, we must set aside our assumptions, letting their lives unfold in the context of their time. Imagine standing on a dirt path, the chill of dawn on your skin, watching a young girl trudge toward a field, her future already written by hands not her own. Let's walk beside her, not to pity, but to understand, to feel the weight of her world and the spark of her spirit that refuses to be dimmed. Ready your heart, for we're about to delve deeper into her story. Imagine a medieval village at dawn, the air heavy with mist, as a young girl stirs in a cramped, smoky cottage. In the world of the 5th to 15th centuries, her childhood is a fleeting, fragile thing, shadowed by the specter of death. Disease creeps through unwashed hands, malnutrition weakens tiny frames, and simple accidents, a fall, a burn, can steal a life before it truly begins. For every 10 children born, 3 to 5 never see their 5th summer, their cradles left empty, their mother's arms hollow with grief. A girl's first years are a gamble, her survival a quiet miracle in a time when fevers and hunger claim so many. Each breath she takes is a defiance of the odds, a testament to her tenacity in a world that offers little mercy. For those who endure, childhood is no season of play or wonder. By the time a girl can toddle, she's pressed into service, her small hands tasked with chores as vital as any adult's. She carries kindling, sweeps dirt floors, or tends to younger siblings, her days a blur of labor rather than laughter. The notion of childhood as a time for discovery, so cherished today, is a distant dream here. Girls are seen as little women, their worth tied to how swiftly they can mimic their mother's work. A peasant girl might stir a pot of watery stew or chase errant chickens, while a nobleman's daughter learns to thread a needle under her governess's watchful eye. Every task is a lesson in duty, preparing her for a life of service. Education, as we know it, is a rarity for these girls. While some boys might study letters with a village priest, most girls learn only what the hearth demands. Their classroom is the home, their teachers the women who came before, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, who show them how to knead dough, mend tunics, or soothe a fevered brow. Formal schooling is a privilege reserved for the few, and even then, literacy among women hovers at a mere whisper, perhaps 1 in 20 among the wealthy. Instead, a girl's mind is shaped by practical skills and the weight of expectation, her world narrowing to the roles she'll soon inherit. Above all, she's taught to be modest, obedient, a quiet shadow in a world ruled by men. Church sermons echo in her ears, weaving tales of virtuous women who bow their heads and hold their tongues. Religious lessons, delivered by candlelight or in the village square, drill into her the virtues of submission, her place fixed in a divine order where men stand above. These teachings are her guide, but also her cage, shaping her to fit a mold she cannot question. Yet, even as she learns to curtsy and pray, childhood slips away, often far too soon. As her body changes with the first signs of womanhood, her brief youth ends abruptly. Puberty brings not freedom, but a new chapter of obligation. Marriage, arranged by others, looms on the horizon. Let's follow her as she steps from the fleeting shelter of girlhood into the unyielding demands of a wife's life, her path already set by hands not her own. As the first blooms of womanhood touch a medieval girl's life, her world shifts, not toward freedom, but into the tightening grip of duty. In the Europe of the 5th to 15th centuries, Marriage marks the sharp end of childhood, a door slammed shut by hands, not her own. Fathers, or sometimes brothers, hold the power to choose her fate, arranging betrothals with little regard for her heart or will. A girl as young as 12 might find herself promised, her future traded like grain in the market. The church sets the legal line at 12 for girls, 14 for boys, but betrothals can begin even earlier, binding children to strangers before they understand the weight of vows. These unions are not about love, but about strategy, alliances to strengthen families, secure land, or settle debts. The age of marriage varies by class, a cruel twist of circumstance. Peasant girls often wed in their late teens, their labor too vital to their families to give up sooner. They toil in fields or kitchens until a match is made, often to a man from the same village, his face familiar, but his heart unknown. Noble girls, however, face a harsher fate. Their marriages are political chess moves, sealing treaties or forging dynasties. A noble daughter might be wed as early as 14, sent far from home to a lord whose years double her own. The weight of her family's ambitions rests on her young shoulders, her consent a mere formality, if considered at all. Consider Agnes of Bohemia, a noblewoman born in 1211, whose story echoes this truth. At just 14, she was sent to marry a powerful lord, a man whose stern face and graying beard marked him as a stranger from another world. Plucked from the familiar halls of her father's castle, Agnes was thrust into a foreign court, her heart heavy with fear and loneliness. The journey to her new home, across rugged roads and unfamiliar lands, was a passage into isolation. She left behind her mother's gentle voice, her siblings' laughter, and the safety of known walls, trading them for a husband whose authority was absolute. Her role was clear: to be a dutiful wife, to bear heirs, to uphold her family's honor in a place where she was a stranger. The emotional toll of such a transition is hard to fathom. Imagine a girl, barely past childhood, standing at the threshold of a new life, her belongings packed in a single chest, her future dictated by a contract she didn't write. The fear of the unknown gnaws at her. Will her husband be kind or cruel? Will his kin welcome her or scorn her? She steps into a household where she must prove her worth, navigating unfamiliar customs and expectations, her every move watched by in-laws eager to judge. The warmth of her childhood home fades to memory, replaced by the cold reality of a life she did not choose. For Agnes and countless others, marriage was less a union than a transfer of ownership, from father to husband. The world expected her to adapt, to serve, to submit, her own desires buried beneath layers of duty. As we follow these women, let's step into the next chapter of their lives, where the weight of societal expectations and the demands of married life press ever harder, shaping their days and dreams in ways both profound and unyielding. The moment a medieval girl becomes a wife, her world narrows to a relentless cycle of duty, her life now tethered to the will of her husband. In the Europe of the 5th to 15th centuries, marriage casts a heavy mantle over her shoulders, one woven from expectation and obedience. Her role is clear: manage the household, serve her husband's needs, and bear children to secure his lineage. Every task, from dawn to dusk, falls to her: cooking meals over a smoky hearth, mending worn tunics, and ensuring the home runs smoothly. Her obedience is not just expected, but demanded. Her every action, a reflection of her husband's honor. Her own desires, her own voice, fade into the background, overshadowed by the weight of her new role. For commoners, the wedding itself is a modest affair, far from the grand spectacles of later centuries. A peasant bride might stand before a small gathering in the village square, exchanging vows with a farmer or craftsman under a priest's watchful eye. Witnesses nod, a simple meal follows, and the contract is sealed with little fanfare. Nobles, however, mark their unions with splendor: feasts of venison and wine, musicians playing lutes in torchlit halls, and guests in silk celebrating alliances more than love. Yet, regardless of class, the ceremony's purpose is the same: to bind a woman to her husband, her life now his to govern. This transfer of authority is stark and unyielding, Once a daughter under her father's rule, she now belongs to her husband, her ties to her birth family severed like a cut thread. A peasant bride might stay close to her village, but a noblewoman could be sent miles away, her childhood home a fading memory. She steps into her husband's domain, where his word is law, and her role is to uphold his household's order. Her identity, once tied to her father's name, is now subsumed under her husband's, her place defined by his status and whims. Integrating into this new world is a daunting task. The bride, often young and untested, must navigate a household of strangers, her husband's kin, his servants, his expectations. In-laws scrutinize her every move, quick to judge her cooking, her manners, or her ability to manage the home. A misstep could earn her scorn, a whispered failure that echoes through the family. She learns to tread carefully, to please those above her, to carve out a space in a hierarchy where she is both essential and subordinate. The weight of these expectations presses constantly, a reminder that her worth is measured by how well she serves. Yet of all her duties, none looms larger or more perilous than the call to bear children. In a world where lineage is power, a wife's fertility is her greatest task and her greatest risk. The act of childbirth, fraught with danger, defines her role and tests her survival. Let's step forward into this next chapter, where the joys and terrors of motherhood unfold, a journey that binds every medieval woman to a cycle of hope, fear, and sacrifice. In the dim light of a medieval home, a woman braces for the trial that defines her worth: motherhood. From the 5th to the 15th century, childbirth is a perilous journey, a gamble with death for both mother and child. With little medical knowledge to guide them, midwives rely on herbal remedies and prayers, their hands skilled but powerless against complications like hemorrhage or infection. The numbers are stark. Many women die in childbed, their bodies exhausted by labor or ravaged by fever. Infants fare no better. Disease and frailty claim countless newborns, leaving cradles empty and hearts broken. For every birth, there is hope, but also fear, as the shadow of mortality looms over every laboring woman, whether in a peasant's hut or a noble's chamber. Consider Matilda of England, born in 1156, a queen whose life was marked by the relentless cycle of pregnancy. Wed to a powerful duke, she faced the crushing expectation to secure her husband's line. Over decades, Matilda endured multiple pregnancies, each a battle against the odds. Tragically, not all her children survived. Some were lost in the womb, others taken by illness in their early years. Each loss carved a wound in her heart, a grief she carried silently as she prepared for the next birth. Her story is not unique but emblematic, a mirror to the countless women who faced the same dangers, their bodies and spirits tested by the demands of motherhood. The physical toll of frequent childbirth is brutal. A woman's body, often weakened by poor nutrition or endless toil, struggles under the strain of pregnancy after pregnancy. Labor can last days, a marathon of pain with no relief beyond a midwife's soothing words or a sip of willow bark tea. Complications like a breech birth or prolonged labor could mean death, and even surviving mothers emerge scarred, physically, with torn tissues or infections, and emotionally, with the weight of loss or the fear of the next ordeal. In a world without anesthesia or sterile tools, every birth is a roll of the dice, a moment where life hangs in the balance. Beyond the physical risks, societal pressure adds a heavier burden. A woman's value is tied to her ability to produce sons, heirs to carry a family's name and power. To bear only daughters is to invite scorn, whispered judgments from kin and neighbors who see her as failing her duty. A peasant wife might face her husband's frustration, while a queen like Matilda risks her position if no male heir survives. This relentless demand for sons drives women to conceive again and again, each pregnancy a fresh risk, each failure a mark against her worth. The emotional strain is as crushing as the physical, a constant reminder of her place in a world that measures her by her womb. Yet, in the face of such peril, women like Matilda show a quiet strength, enduring loss after loss to fulfill their role. Their courage, often unspoken, weaves through the fabric of medieval life. Let's turn now to one queen's story, a deeper look at her maternal struggles, where we'll see how she navigated the treacherous path of motherhood, her resilience a beacon in a world that demanded so much and offered so little in return. In the flickering torchlight of a 12th century court, Matilda of England stands as a figure of quiet endurance, her life a testament to the unyielding strength of a mother. Born in 1156, she was more than a queen. She was a woman bound by the relentless demands of dynasty. Married to Henry the Lion, Duke of Saxony, Matilda faced the weight of producing heirs to secure her husband's legacy. Over the years, she endured numerous pregnancies, each one a harrowing journey through hope and dread. Some children lived, others were lost to miscarriage or early death, each loss a silent scar on her heart. Yet she pressed forward, her body and spirit tested by the ceaseless cycle of conception, labor, and grief, all for the sake of her family's future. As queen, Matilda's days were not her own. Even heavy with child or mourning a loss, she managed the intricate dance of court life. She oversaw feasts, mediated disputes among nobles, and ensured the household ran smoothly, all while carrying the physical strain of pregnancy or the emotional weight of a child's death. Her role demanded poise, a serene facade even as her body ached or her heart broke. She corresponded with allies, hosted dignitaries, and upheld her husband's authority, all while navigating the private agony of her maternal trials. To be a queen was to balance these public duties with the intimate, perilous act of bringing life into a world that offered no guarantees. Her survival through these childbirths was no small feat. Each labor was a battle, fought without modern medicine, where a single complication could mean death. Midwives might offer herbs or prayers, but luck and strength were Matilda's true allies. That she emerged from these trials, bearing sons who would carry her husband's name, speaks to a fortitude that defies the fragility of her era. Her body, though worn by repeated pregnancies, became a vessel of resilience, a symbol of her refusal to be broken by the dangers that claimed so many others. Matilda's story is one of triumph, not in victory over enemies, but in her quiet defiance of the odds stacked against her. Her struggles were not hers alone. Every medieval mother, from the humblest peasant to the grandest queen, faced the same specter of death in childbirth. The risks Matilda endured were universal, binding women across classes in a shared trial of survival. A village wife laboring in a smoky hut and a noblewoman in a stone-walled chamber both knew the fear of a labor gone wrong, the hope for a healthy child, and the grief of an empty cradle. Their strength, often unspoken, wove the fabric of their world, holding families together through sheer will. Let's turn now from the gilded halls of queens to the earthy struggles of common women, whose days were filled with a different kind of labor. Their lives, though far from the pomp of courts, were no less demanding, their resilience no less profound. Step with me into the world of the peasant woman, where the grind of daily survival shaped every moment, and where strength was forged in the crucible of endless toil. In the gray light of dawn, a medieval peasant woman rises from her straw pallet, her body already aching from the day before. From the 5th to the 15th century, her life is a ceaseless grind, a rhythm of labor that begins before the sun crests the hills and ends only when exhaustion claims her. She starts with the trek to the well, a heavy yoke across her shoulders, buckets swaying as she hauls water through mud-churned paths. Back home, she stokes the smoky fire in the hearth, coughing as embers flare, then kneels to prepare a thin porridge of barley or oats, stirring it endlessly to feed her family. As the day unfolds, she tends the garden, pulling weeds and harvesting what little the soil yields, her hands calloused and dirt-stained. Evening brings the spindle, where she twists wool into yarn by firelight, her fingers numb from the repetitive motion, thread after thread building the cloth that clothes her kin. Every task is essential, every hour claimed by necessity, her endurance the quiet force holding her world together. Her home is a cramped hovel, walls of mud and sticks, the floor packed earth that turns to sludge in rain. A single room serves as kitchen, bedroom, and workshop, where the family huddles against the cold. Beds are shared sacks of straw, lumpy and infested with fleas, offering little rest. Chamber pots sit in the corner, emptied into ditches outside, the stench of waste mingling with the smoke from the open fire. Rats skitter in the thatch roof, gnawing at stored grain, while drafts whistle through cracks, chilling bones even in summer. Sanitation is a distant dream. Bathing is rare, a quick scrub in a stream when time allows, leaving her skin rough and prone to sores. In this tight space, illness spreads like wildfire, a cough or fever threatening to upend everything she fights to maintain. Privacy is a luxury she cannot afford. With husband, children, and perhaps elders under one roof, every moment is observed, every whisper overheard. She rises first to tend the fire, her movements a constant dance around others, feeding infants, scolding toddlers, all while her own needs go unmet. The physical demands never cease, bending to scrub floors, lifting heavy loads of firewood, or kneeling to milk goats, her back bent under the strain. Joints ache, muscles burn, but she pushes on, knowing a single day's lapse could mean hunger or hardship for all. Her strength is forged in this unyielding routine, a resilience born of no choice but to endure. Yet for all her toil, recognition is scarce. Her contributions, the meals that sustain, the clothes that warm, the home that shelters, are taken as given, invisible threads in the tapestry of family life. Men plow the fields or ply trades, their work praised in village tales, but her labor, the backbone of survival, fades into the background. She is the unseen force, her sacrifices unacknowledged, her worth quietly assumed until she falters. While peasant women bear this raw burden, noble women face a different constraint, less grueling in body, yet no less confining in spirit. Their lives, though eased by servants, are still bound by expectation, their days a polished cage compared to the rough grind of the fields. Let's turn to that world now, where privilege masks its own form of endurance. In the stone-walled chambers of a medieval castle, a noble woman moves through her day with measured grace, her life a delicate balance of privilege and restraint. From the 5th to the 15th century, her role is clear: oversee the household, ensure its smooth running, and uphold her family's honor. She rises early, her silk gown whispering as she directs servants to prepare the day's meals or clean the great hall. Her hands, soft compared to a peasant's calloused fingers, guide a needle through intricate embroidery, crafting tapestries that adorn cold walls. Religious duties anchor her routine. She kneels in the chapel for prayers, attends mass, or distributes alms to the poor, her piety a public display of virtue. Every action reflects her status, yet each is a thread in a tightly woven web of expectation, her world confined within the castle's walls. Despite her elevated rank, personal ambitions are a luxury she rarely tastes. Her education, if she has any, might include reading scripture or composing letters, but these are tools to serve her family, not her own dreams. A noble woman's mind, sharp as it may be, is rarely free to explore beyond the boundaries set by her role. She might long to study philosophy or govern lands, but such pursuits are deemed unfit, her desires stifled by the weight of tradition. Her husband, or perhaps her father-in-law, holds the reins of power, his decisions shaping her fate. Even her pastimes, spinning, singing, or managing accounts, are chosen to enhance her family's prestige, not to fulfill her own heart. Her days are consumed with supervising domestic tasks, a role that binds her to the hearth as surely as a peasant woman's labor binds her to the fields. She inspects the kitchens, ensuring bread is baked and wine is stored, or checks the linens for signs of wear. Servants carry out the heavy work, but her oversight is relentless, her reputation tied to the household's order. A feast poorly planned or a guest slighted could tarnish her name, her competence judged by every detail. Though she commands others, she remains under her husband's authority, her life a gilded cage where privilege masks confinement. This subservience echoes across the classes, a shared chain linking noble and peasant women alike. While a peasant toils with her hands, A noblewoman toils with her mind, both tethered to roles that demand obedience and sacrifice. Neither can fully choose her path, their lives shaped by a world that prizes men's voices over theirs. The noblewoman's silk gown may shimmer, but it binds her just as tightly as the peasant's rough wool, each woman navigating a society that measures her worth by how well she serves others. This rigid order finds its strongest enforcer in the church, a force that looms over every woman's life, noble or common. Its teachings, preached from pulpits and woven into daily life, cast women as lesser, their roles fixed by divine decree. Let's step now into the shadow of those teachings, where the church's grip tightens, reinforcing the chains that bind women to a life of submission and shaping their world in ways both profound and unyielding. In the heart of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, the church stands as a towering force, its bells echoing across villages and cities, its teachings shaping every soul. For women, its influence is a double-edged sword, offering spiritual solace but wielding a stern hand of control. From pulpits draped in crimson, priests proclaim a doctrine rooted in Scripture. Woman, descended from Eve, is the source of original sin, her nature tainted, her will suspect. This belief, preached in every sermon, paints women as temptresses, their bodies and desires a danger to be tamed. A young girl learns early to bow her head, to see herself through the church's eyes, not as an equal, but as a vessel of potential sin, her every action scrutinized for signs of moral lapse. The church demands virtues that bind women tightly: chastity, modesty, and silence. Chastity is paramount, a woman's honor tied to her purity, whether as a maiden or a wife. A single rumor of indiscretion could ruin her, branding her as fallen in a world quick to judge. Modesty governs her appearance, her hair veiled, her dress plain, her gaze lowered to avoid drawing attention. Silence is her duty. A woman's voice, raised in defiance or even in jest, risks accusations of boldness or worse. These rules, etched into daily life, are reinforced by religious rituals, confessions where sins are weighed, masses where submission is praised. A woman's worth hinges on her ability to embody these virtues, her spirit molded to fit a narrow ideal. Failure to conform invites swift retribution. The church, as moral arbiter, oversees punishments that sting both body and soul. A woman accused of gossip or immodesty might face public shaming, forced to stand before the congregation, her head bowed as the priest denounces her sins. Some endure the humiliation of a penance walk, paraded through the village with bare feet, her faults proclaimed to jeering crowds. More severe transgressions, like adultery, real or rumored, could lead to harsher fates: confinement, flogging, or even excommunication, cutting her off from the community and salvation itself. These punishments, cloaked in divine justice, serve as warnings, keeping women tethered to their prescribed roles. At its core, the church's teachings justify the iron grip of male authority. Husbands, fathers, and priests are cast as God's representatives, their dominion over women sanctified by Scripture. A woman's obedience to her husband mirrors her obedience to God, her submission a sacred duty. This doctrine, woven into every aspect of life, ensures that women remain under control, their agency curtailed by a system that sees their subjugation as natural. From the peasant wife kneeling in a village chapel to the noblewoman praying in a private oratory, the message is the same. Her place is to serve, to obey, to endure. The church's shadow stretches far, but for those who dared to step outside its bounds, the consequences were even graver. Let's turn now to the darker edge of this control, where nonconformity, whether through speech, action, or belief, could lead to punishments far beyond shaming, plunging women into a world of fear and retribution that marked them as threats to the very order that sought to bind them. In the medieval world, from the 5th to the 15th century, a woman who dared to defy the rigid bounds of her role faced a justice as swift as it was cruel. The church and community stood ready to punish any perceived rebellion, their methods designed to break both body and spirit. For For a woman accused of gossiping or nagging, sins deemed disruptive to male authority, the scold's bridle was a favored tool. This iron cage, clamped around her head, held a metal bit that pressed her tongue, silencing her voice with pain. She was led through the village, the bridle's bell jangling, drawing eyes and jeers from neighbors. Each step was a lesson, a public reminder that a woman's words must be few and meek, her defiance unthinkable. More severe transgressions brought even harsher fates. Public humiliations were common, crafted to shame and subdue. A woman might be whipped in the village square, her back bared to the lash as onlookers watched, her cries a warning to others. Dunking stools plunged women into icy rivers, their breath stolen by cold water, repeated until they begged forgiveness or drowned. Some were paraded through streets, stripped of dignity, their faults shouted by a bailiff, adultery, scolding, or simply speaking too boldly. These spectacles, often overseen by the church, turned a woman's misstep into a communal event, her punishment a grim theater meant to reinforce the order of a world ruled by men. The psychological toll of such punishments was profound. To stand exposed, mocked by those she knew, was to lose not just pride but place. A shamed woman carried the weight of judgment long after the whip fell or the bridle was removed. Neighbors whispered, her family's honor tarnished, her voice stifled by fear of further retribution. The humiliation lingered, a constant reminder of her vulnerability in a society that prized her silence. For many, the fear of such punishment shaped their every word and action, a shadow that kept them in line, their spirits bent under the weight of public scorn. This brutal system reflected a deeper societal need, to control women's behavior at all costs. A woman's voice, her independence, or even her laughter, could unsettle the fragile hierarchy that placed men above. Punishments were not just about correction, but about power, ensuring women remained subservient, their roles as wives, mothers, or daughters unquestioned. The church's teachings fueled this control, casting defiance as sin, justifying cruelty as divine will. Every lash, every jeer, was a stitch in the fabric of a world that feared a woman's strength, her agency a threat to be crushed. Yet for some, there was another path, a narrow escape from this oppressive grip. The church, while a source of control, also offered a refuge for those who chose a different life. Let's turn now to the world of the convent, where some women sought solace in faith, trading one form of constraint for another, and where, in the quiet of cloistered walls, they found a fragile space to redefine their purpose. In the shadowed heart of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a convent's stone walls offer a rare sanctuary for women seeking escape from the world's demands. Here, a nun's life unfolds in a rhythm of devotion, her days woven with prayer, labor, and moments of quiet purpose. Dawn breaks with the chanting of matins, voices rising in harmony to greet the divine. By day, she tends herb gardens, copies manuscripts by candlelight, or bakes bread for the poor, her hands busy with tasks that sustain the convent's life. Unlike the chaos of village or castle, the cloister offers structure, a space where a woman's worth is tied to faith rather than fertility. Yet, this refuge comes with its own chains, a life of discipline where personal desires bow to communal vows. Among those who chose this path was Clare of Assisi, born in 1194, a woman whose spirit found a home in the convent's embrace. Fleeing an arranged marriage, Clare followed her heart to the teachings of Francis of Assisi, founding the Order of Poor Ladies. Her days were spent in prayer and poverty, her leadership a quiet rebellion against a world that sought to bind her to a husband's will. She wrote rules for her order, a rare act for a woman, guiding her sisters with a vision of simplicity and devotion. Clare's life was not one of ease but of purpose, her faith a shield against the pressures of a society that valued her only as a bride or mother. Yet, the convent demanded steep sacrifices. Vows of chastity, obedience, and poverty were absolute, binding a nun to a life without physical love or personal wealth. Chastity severed ties to earthly desires, her body dedicated to God alone. Obedience meant submitting to the abbess and the church's rigid hierarchy, her will surrendered to a higher authority. Poverty stripped away worldly comforts, her days spent in coarse robes, her meals simple, her bed a hard pallet. These vows, taken in candlelit ceremonies, were a contract of devotion, trading one form of confinement for another, where spiritual freedom came at the cost of earthly choice. For some, the convent offered rare opportunities to nurture the mind and soul. Unlike most women, bound to hearths or fields, nuns could learn to read and write, their quills scratching out sacred texts or hymns. Claire herself penned letters that stirred hearts, her words a testament to a mind freed to explore faith and ideas. Convents became havens for creativity, where women wove tapestries, composed music, or recorded histories, their talents blooming in the cloister's quiet. These moments of intellectual freedom were precious, a flicker of agency in a world that rarely allowed women to shine beyond their domestic roles. For most, the convent was a refuge, but for a few, even its walls were not enough. Some women sought an even deeper solitude, a life of radical devotion that set them apart. Let's turn now to the world of the anchoress, a woman who chose to be walled away from the world, her existence a stark testament to faith and sacrifice, where the pursuit of divine connection pushed the boundaries of what it meant to be free. In the quiet heart of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a rare few women chose a path of profound sacrifice, the life of an anchoress. Walled into a small stone cell, often no larger than a closet, attached to a church, an anchoress committed to a life of solitude and prayer. Sealed in with a ceremony as solemn as a funeral, she became dead to the world, her existence devoted entirely to God. Her cell had 3 windows, one to the altar for worship, one to receive food from a servant, and one to the outside world, where she offered counsel to those who sought her wisdom. This was no ordinary life, but a radical act of faith, a surrender of body for the sake of soul. Consider Marjorie Kemp, born around 1373, whose story captures this extraordinary choice. After a life marked by marriage, motherhood, and mystical visions, Marjorie felt a divine call to deeper devotion. Leaving behind her family and worldly ties, she chose the anchoress's path, though her journey was unconventional, blending travel with periods of seclusion. Her visions, vivid encounters with Christ and the Virgin Mary, drove her to seek a life of spiritual intensity. In her cell, Marjorie's days became a rhythm of prayer and contemplation, her voice lifted in psalms or whispered in supplication, seeking union with the divine. Her choice was not escape, but embrace, a surrender to a calling that set her apart. Her daily routine was one of discipline and purpose. Rising before dawn, Marjorie prayed through the canonical hours, her voice echoing in the dim cell, lit only by a candle's flicker. Meals were sparse, bread, water, perhaps a thin broth, passed through the servant's window, her body sustained just enough to serve her spirit. Through the small window to the world, villagers came, seeking her guidance on matters of sin, grief, or faith. Marjorie listened, offering words of comfort or admonition, her wisdom shaped by visions that gave her authority rare for a woman. Her cell, though a prison to the eye, became a bridge between earth and heaven, her solitude a conduit for divine connection. This physical confinement offered a paradoxical freedom. Stripped of worldly distractions, marriage, labor, even choice, Marjorie found a space to explore her soul's depths. Her visions, once a source of turmoil, became her strength, her cell a sanctuary where she could commune with God without interference. This spiritual liberty, though bought at the cost of isolation, allowed her to transcend the limits of her era's expectations, her faith a quiet rebellion against a world that sought to silence women. Marjorie's life, though extreme, left a mark beyond her cell's walls. Her experiences, dictated to scribes, became a legacy of words, a rare gift from a woman's voice. Let's turn now to that legacy, to the writings of an anchoress who defied her time's constraints, capturing her visions and wisdom in a way that would echo through the centuries, challenging the silence imposed on her sisters and illuminating the power of a woman's faith. In the dim confines of her stone cell, Marjorie Kempe, born around 1373, did something extraordinary for a woman of medieval Europe. she left behind a voice that refused to be silenced. Her book, The Book of Marjorie Kempe, stands as a rare treasure, one of the first autobiographies in English, dictated to scribes because she could not write herself. This work, born from her years as a mystic and sometime anchoress, captures her vivid spiritual journey. Through its pages, she shares her visions of Christ and the Virgin Mary, moments of divine connection that shaped her life. Her words, raw and fervent, offer a glimpse into a woman's inner world, a bold act in an era when female voices were rarely heard, let alone recorded for posterity. Marjorie's visions were more than personal revelations. They were a challenge to the norms of her time. She described weeping openly for Christ's suffering, her tears a public display of faith that unsettled priests and neighbors alike. She spoke of God's love as tender and maternal, a daring reframing of divine authority in a church that exalted male power. Her theological insights, born from ecstatic encounters, pushed against the rigid doctrines of her day. She claimed a direct connection to the divine, bypassing the male clergy who guarded spiritual authority. This was no small act. Her boldness invited suspicion, her claims teetering on the edge of heresy, in a world quick to punish those who strayed from orthodoxy. Writing as a woman was a perilous endeavor. In the 14th and 15th centuries, literacy among women was scarce, and those who dared to speak publicly risked accusations of witchcraft or rebellion. Marjorie faced scorn and interrogation, her visions scrutinized by church officials wary of her influence. To dictate her story required courage, for each word was a defiance of a society that expected women to remain silent and submissive. She entrusted her experiences to male scribes, a necessary compromise, yet her voice shines through, unapologetic and vivid. The act of preserving her story was a rebellion, a refusal to let her life vanish into the shadows that swallowed so many women's voices. Her influence rippled far beyond her time. Marjorie's book, rediscovered centuries later, offered a window into the spiritual and emotional life of a medieval woman, inspiring scholars, writers, and those seeking to reclaim women's stories. Her courage to speak, to claim her visions as truth, laid a foundation for future generations, a spark for women who would demand their voices be heard. Her work, though born in a cramped cell, became a beacon, proving that even in the darkest constraints, a woman's mind could burn bright, her legacy enduring long after her death. Yet, for every Marjorie who found a way to speak, countless women faced grimmer realities, their lives bound by toil and silence. Their stories, though unwritten, are no less vital, their struggles no less profound. Let's turn now to those harsher truths, to the daily battles of women who faced not only the weight of labor, but the ever-present threat of violence. Their resilience forged in a world that offered little mercy and demanded everything. In the shadowed corners of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a woman's home could be both her refuge and her prison. Domestic violence was a grim reality, woven into the fabric of daily life, accepted as a husband's right. The church and law upheld his authority, granting him the power to correct his wife with force. A raised hand, a leather strap, or a fist was not just permitted, but expected if a woman defied her husband's will. Whether for a sharp word, a poorly cooked meal, or a failure to please, punishment was swift, her body bearing the bruises of a society that saw her as property. In this world, a woman's pain was often met with silence, her suffering hidden behind closed doors. Consider Beatrice of Provence, born in 1229, a noblewoman whose life reflects this harsh truth. Married to Charles of Anjou, a powerful and ambitious count, Beatrice endured not only the pressures of court, but also her husband's wrath. Historical whispers suggest Charles, driven by his desire for control, lashed out when Beatrice challenged his decisions or failed to meet his exacting standards. Her position as a countess offered no shield. In the privacy of their chambers, she faced the same vulnerability as any peasant wife. Each blow was a reminder of her place, her status no protection against the violence that was her husband's prerogative. For women like Beatrice, Legal recourse was a distant dream. The courts, dominated by men, rarely intervened in a husband's domain. Church teachings reinforced this, framing a wife's obedience as a sacred duty, her endurance of abuse a test of virtue. A woman seeking justice risked further shame. Branded a troublemaker, she might face public scorn or worse, be returned to her abuser with a stern warning to submit. Even in cases of extreme cruelty, the law offered little protection. A wife was bound to her husband, her escape blocked by the very system that sanctified her suffering. To flee was to risk destitution or excommunication, leaving her with nowhere to turn. This violence was not an aberration, but a cornerstone of medieval society, accepted as a tool to maintain order. Neighbors might hear a woman's cries but turn away, seeing her pain as her husband's right. The church, preaching patience, urged women to endure, casting their suffering as a path to salvation. This acceptance wove a cruel thread through every class, from peasants in mud-walled hovels to nobles in stone castles, binding women in a shared silence. Their bruises, both seen and unseen, were a testament to a world that valued control over compassion. Beatrice's story, though marked by privilege, mirrors the plight of countless others trapped by abuse. Her struggles as a noblewoman reveal the depth of this injustice, where even rank could not shield a woman from harm. Let's turn now to her specific ordeal, to the moments when her gilded world became a cage, and explore how one woman navigated the suffocating grip of violence, her resilience a quiet defiance, in a society that offered her little hope and no escape. In the opulent yet oppressive halls of 13th century Provence, Beatrice, born in 1229, faced a fate that stripped away the illusion of her noble status. As the wife of Charles of Anjou, a man whose ambition matched his ruthlessness, Beatrice endured not only his violence, but a darker cruelty, abduction and imprisonment within her own marriage. Historical accounts whisper of moments when Charles, enraged by her defiance or perceived failure, confined her to a secluded chamber in their castle. Stripped of her freedom, Beatrice was locked away, her world reduced to cold stone walls and barred windows. Her gilded life as a countess became a cage, her husband's control absolute, his punishment a chilling reminder that her rank offered no protection against his wrath. Desperate for escape, Beatrice sought help, but the patriarchal courts of the time offered no refuge. She might have pleaded with local clergy or sent messages to allies, but the law was clear: a husband's authority was sacrosanct. Judges, often men tied to Charles by loyalty or fear, dismissed her cries, urging her to submit as a dutiful wife. The church, too, turned its back, preaching patience as a woman's virtue, her suffering a test of faith. Each attempt to break free was met with rejection, her voice drowned by a system that saw her as an extension of her husband, not a person with rights. Her pleas, bold as they were, fell on deaf ears, leaving her trapped in a cycle of powerlessness. The emotional toll of this ordeal was crushing. Isolated from friends and kin, Beatrice lived with the constant weight of fear, her spirit battered by her husband's cruelty and the world's indifference. Each day in confinement chipped away at her sense of self, her dignity eroded by the knowledge that no one would intervene. The loneliness of her imprisonment was a wound as deep as any bruise, her heart heavy with the betrayal of a society that upheld her abuser. Yet, even in her darkest moments, she clung to resilience, her inner strength a quiet rebellion against the forces that sought to break her. Beatrice's suffering, though cloaked in noble silks, was not hers alone. Across the classes, from castle to cottage, women faced similar cruelties, their lives shaped by a world that normalized their subjugation. A peasant wife might endure a husband's fists in a mud-walled hovel, her cries unheard, while a noblewoman like Beatrice faced confinement behind velvet curtains. The tools of control varied, but the outcome was the same. A woman's body and will were not her own. This shared experience bound women in a silent sisterhood, their pain a common thread in a tapestry of systemic injustice, their endurance a testament to their unyielding spirit. While Beatrice's story reveals the gilded cage of noble life, the struggles of common women were no less profound, their days marked by a different kind of hardship. Let's turn now to the world of the peasant woman, where the grind of daily survival demanded a relentless strength, where every task, from hauling water to tending children, was a battle against exhaustion, and where resilience was forged in the crucible of a life that offered little mercy and demanded everything. As the first light of dawn creeps over a medieval village, a peasant woman rises, her body stiff from a night on a straw-strewn floor. From the 5th to the 15th century, her life is a ceaseless march of labor, each day a testament to her endurance. She steps into the chill morning, her breath visible as she trudges to the fields, hoe in hand, to break the stubborn earth or harvest meager crops. Her arms ache as she hauls water from a distant stream, buckets sloshing against her hips, the weight pulling at her spine. Back home, she tends to children, soothing a crying infant while guiding older ones to gather kindling or feed chickens. Every task, kneading dough, scrubbing pots, or mending torn tunics, demands her strength, her hands roughened by work that never ends, her role the unseen backbone of her family's survival. Malnutrition gnaws at her vitality. Her meals are sparse, coarse bread, watery pottage, perhaps a scrap of cheese or an onion, rarely enough to fill her belly. The land yields little, and hunger is a constant companion, weakening her frame and dulling her skin. Repetitive tasks take their toll. Bending over crops, carrying heavy loads, or spinning wool for hours strains her joints and muscles. Her back curves from years of toil, her fingers knot with early arthritis, her body bearing the scars of a life spent in service to others. Disease festers in cramped, unsanitary homes, and a simple cut or fever can turn deadly, her health a fragile thread worn thin by hardship. Rest is a luxury she cannot claim. From sunrise to starlight, her day is a blur of demands, with no moment for herself. Children cling to her skirts, the fire needs tending, and the loom waits for her weary hands. Even sleep is fleeting, shared with a crowded family on a lumpy pallet, interrupted by a child's cry or a husband's call. Privacy is non-existent, her thoughts drowned by the clamor of survival. The absence of pause leaves her spirit as exhausted as her body, yet she rises each morning, driven by the unspoken duty to keep her household alive, her resilience a quiet fire that refuses to flicker out. This relentless grind ages her far beyond her years. By her 30s, lines etch her face, her hair grays, and her shoulders stoop, her body marked by a life of unyielding labor. Premature aging is the price of her endurance, a cruel mirror to a society that demands everything and offers little in return. Her strength, though uncelebrated, holds her family together. Her sacrifice is the foundation of their survival, even as they wear her down to bone. While married women bear this burden, unmarried women face their own trials, their lives shaped by suspicion and vulnerability. Let's turn now to their story, to the women who navigated a world that viewed them with distrust, their existence a delicate balance between independence and peril, where survival demanded a different kind of courage in a society that offered them no place to belong. In the villages and towns of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, an unmarried woman walks a precarious path, her existence viewed with suspicion and disdain. Society, bound by rigid norms, sees marriage as a woman's natural state, her role tied to husband and hearth. To remain unwed is to defy this order, marking her as unnatural, a disruption to the world's careful balance. Neighbors whisper, priests cast judgmental glances, and families urge her to marry, fearing her independence might invite sin or scandal. Whether a spinster by choice, widowed too young, or simply unchosen, she is an outsider, her place in the community fragile, her every action scrutinized for signs of deviance. Without a husband's protection or a family's support, survival becomes a daily struggle. Many unmarried women turn to begging, standing at church doors or market squares, their hands outstretched for scraps of bread or a few coins. Others, driven by desperation, enter prostitution, a grim necessity in a world that offers few options. Towns often regulate this trade, confining it to specific districts where women work under the watchful eyes of authorities. Yet even this meager livelihood comes at a steep cost. their bodies and spirits worn by the demands of survival in a society that shuns them for their very means of staying alive. Prostitutes face dangers that shadow their every step. In regulated districts, they live in cramped, filthy brothels, their days governed by men who profit from their labor. Clients, often drunk or volatile, pose constant threats. Violence is common, a slap or worse for refusing a demand. Disease spreads unchecked, with no access to medicine or care, and a woman's health erodes under the strain of her trade. Beyond the physical risks, shame clings to her like damp cloth. The church brands her a sinner, and townsfolk scorn her, even as they exploit her services. Legal protections are non-existent. Assaults go unpunished, her complaints dismissed by courts that see her as less than human. Her life is a tightrope, each day a balance between survival and ruin. This lack of protection defines the existence of all unattached women, whether beggar or prostitute. Without a man's name to shield her, a woman is vulnerable to accusations of witchcraft, theft, or immorality. Her solitude itself a crime in the eyes of many. Widows might inherit a small plot or trade, but even they face pressure to remarry, their independence a threat to the social order. The world offers no safety net, no refuge for a woman who stands alone, her survival a testament to her cunning and resilience in the face of relentless judgment. The suspicion and vulnerability faced by unmarried women are but one thread in a broader tapestry of peril that binds all women in this era. Whether wed or unwed, noble or common, they live under the constant threat of violence, a shadow that shapes their days and haunts their nights. Let's turn now to this darker reality, where the specter of physical harm looms over every woman, their bodies and spirits tested by a world that sees them as lesser, their endurance a quiet defiance against a society built on their subjugation. In the shadowed corners of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, violence stalks women like a relentless predator, its threat woven into the fabric of daily life. From the muddy lanes of villages to the stone halls of castles, men of all classes, husbands, strangers, lords, or laborers, hold power that can turn to harm in an instant. A woman walking alone risks assault by a drunken villager or a soldier passing through. A wife might face her husband's fist for a perceived slight. A servant could endure a master's unwanted advances. This danger is ever present, a dark undercurrent that shapes a woman's steps, her eyes always scanning for safety in a world that offers little. No place, not home nor street, is truly secure, her vulnerability a constant companion. Consent, as we understand it, is a foreign concept in this era. Sexual encounters, even within marriage, are often dictated by men's desires, a wife's refusal dismissed or met with force. Outside marriage, the risks are graver still. A woman assaulted in a field or alley faces not justice, but blame. Society casts her as the temptress, her presence or dress deemed provocation, her suffering a consequence of her own sin. The church reinforces this, preaching women's inherent guilt, while courts rarely punish assailants. A woman's word carries little weight, her pain silenced by a system that protects men's power, leaving her to bear the shame and scars alone. In rare cases, a virgin's assault might stir some semblance of justice, but even this is a faint hope. If her family is wealthy, or her attacker lowly, she might see him fined or briefly imprisoned, but only if her purity is proven and her honor deemed worth defending. Noble families might push for retribution to preserve their name, but for most women, peasants, widows, or the poor, such recourse is a dream. Even when justice is sought, it's fleeting, the punishment light compared to the lifelong weight a victim carries, her reputation tarnished, her spirit bruised by a world that judges her more harshly than her abuser. This violence is not an outlier, but a normalized thread in the medieval tapestry. Society accepts it as a man's right to discipline or dominate, a tool to keep women in their place. Sermons justify it, laws ignore it, and communities turn away, their silence complicit in the cycle. Women learn to navigate this fear, their lives shaped by caution, avoiding dark paths, lowering their gaze, or swallowing their voices to avoid provoking harm. Yet their resilience shines through, a quiet defiance in simply surviving a world that sees their suffering as natural. But violence is not the only threat that haunts women's lives. Another shadow looms, one fueled by paranoia and superstition, the fear of being labeled a witch. Let's turn now to this chilling reality, where accusations of witchcraft could transform a woman's life into a nightmare, her very existence a spark for suspicion in a society quick to punish those who seem to defy its rigid order. In the superstitious haze of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a woman could become a scapegoat for the world's woes, her life snuffed out by whispers of witchcraft. When crops withered, livestock sickened, or children fell ill, fear turned to blame, and women were the easiest target. A village might point to an old widow living alone, her independence suspicious, or a woman whose sharp tongue unsettled neighbors. Misfortune, in a world ruled by omens, was rarely natural. Someone had to be at fault, and women, cast as inherently sinful by the church, bore the weight of this paranoia. A single accusation, born of envy, grudge, or bad luck, could spiral into a death sentence, her fate sealed by a community desperate for a culprit. Midwives and healers, with their knowledge of herbs and childbirth, were especially vulnerable. Their skills, vital to village life, also made them suspect. A stillborn child or a failed remedy could spark whispers of dark magic, transforming a healer's wisdom into proof of devilry. These women, often older and unattached, stood out in a society that distrusted those who defied traditional roles. Their ability to ease pain or deliver babies, while valued, also invited fear. Fear of power that men could not control. A midwife's murmured prayers over a laboring mother might be twisted into incantations, her poultices called potions, her very existence a threat to a world that demanded women remain powerless. The witch trials that followed were a nightmare of cruelty. An accused woman faced a court of men, priests, magistrates, or local lords, where her guilt was often presumed. Torture was common. Thumbscrews crushed fingers, iron boots burned feet, or she was strapped to a rack until she confessed. Confessions, coerced through agony, were rarely enough to save her. They only confirmed the accusations. Execution awaited, burning at the stake, the flames a public spectacle meant to purge evil, or hanging, her body left as a warning. These trials, cloaked in justice, were less about evidence than fear, the accused stripped of humanity, her voice drowned by screams of witch. This persecution was rooted in deep-seated misogyny, a reflection of a society that saw women's strength as dangerous. The church's teachings, branding women as Eve's heirs, fueled the paranoia, casting their knowledge, their independence, or even their survival as unnatural. Men feared what they could not control, and the witch hunts were a brutal means to reassert that control, punishing women who dared to exist outside the bounds of submission. Thousands perished, their lives erased by a system that thrived on their fear, their deaths a grim reminder of the cost of being different. Yet, amid this darkness, some women found ways to resist, their courage a quiet rebellion against oppression. Their stories, though rare, shine as beacons of defiance, proof that even in a world bent on silencing them, women could claim their power. Let's turn now to those who pushed back, to the women who challenged the chains of their time, their voices and actions, carving out a space for hope in a society that sought to crush their spirit. In the rigid world of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, where women's voices were often silenced, a few dared to defy the chains of expectation, their courage planting seeds of change. Among them was Isotta Nogarola, born in 1418, a scholar whose brilliance challenged the norms of her time. Raised in Verona, Isotta immersed herself in classical texts, her mind sharpened by study in a world that reserved such pursuits for men. Refusing the path of marriage, she chose scholarship, wielding her pen to assert that women's intellect was equal to men's. Her writings, bold and eloquent, were a quiet rebellion, a claim to a space where women were rarely allowed to tread. Isotta's works, including letters and orations, struck at the heart of medieval misogyny. In her dialogue, On the Equal or Unequal Sin of Adam and Eve, she argued that women were not inherently inferior, challenging the Church's narrative of Eve's guilt. Her words, penned in Latin, demanded recognition of women's capacity for reason and virtue, ideas that shook the foundations of a society built on male supremacy. She corresponded with male scholars, holding her own in debates, her intellect a weapon against those who dismissed her. Each sentence she wrote was a declaration, a refusal to be confined by the roles her world prescribed. This defiance came at a cost. Isotta faced ridicule and suspicion, her boldness seen as unnatural. Male scholars mocked her, questioning a woman's right to engage in intellectual discourse. The Church, ever watchful, viewed her ideas with unease, her writings teetering on the edge of heresy. Social isolation followed. Friends distanced themselves, fearing her reputation might taint their own. Yet, Isotta persisted, her courage fueled by a belief in her own worth, her work a beacon for those who would come after. To write as a woman was to risk everything, but she refused to let fear silence her voice. Beyond the rare scholar like Isotta, ordinary women also resisted in quieter ways. A peasant wife might barter her woven cloth in secret, keeping a few coins for herself. A widow could defy pressure to remarry, clinging to her small plot of land. Mothers taught daughters to question, if only in whispers, planting seeds of defiance in the next generation. These acts, small and unseen, were no less bold, each a spark of agency in a world that sought to extinguish it. Together, these women, from scholar to villager, wove a tapestry of resistance, their courage a testament to their unyielding spirit. Isotta's story, though singular, carries a broader echo, her impact reaching beyond her lifetime. Her writings, preserved through the centuries, became a touchstone for those who sought to challenge the silence imposed on women. Let's turn now to her legacy, to the ways her bold voice shaped a path for others, her words a spark that lit the way for future generations to claim their place in a world that tried to deny them their power. In the candlelit chambers of 15th century Verona, Isotta Nogarola, born in 1418, carved a path of intellectual defiance that still shines through the centuries. Choosing scholarship over the expected role of wife and mother, she immersed herself in Latin texts, philosophy, and theology, disciplines reserved for men in a world that saw women's minds as lesser. Her brilliance was undeniable, yet her choice to wield it publicly was revolutionary. Isotta wrote with fervor, defending women's capabilities, asserting their right to reason and virtue. Her most daring work, a dialogue titled On the Equal or Unequal Sin of Adam and Eve, challenged the Church's doctrine that blamed women for humanity's fall. With sharp logic, she argued that Eve was no guiltier than Adam, a bold claim that shook the foundations of medieval thought, demanding a re-evaluation of women's worth. Her writings extended beyond debate to celebrate women's achievements. Isotta compiled a collection of letters and orations, weaving a tapestry of historical and biblical women who exemplified strength and intellect. She wrote of Deborah, the prophetess who led armies, and Esther, whose courage saved her people, using their stories to prove women's capacity for leadership and wisdom. This work, rare for its time, was a quiet manifesto, a testament to her belief that women could rival men in any arena if given the chance. Each page was a rebellion, her quill a weapon against a society that sought to silence her voice and those of her sisters. Yet, her boldness drew sharp criticism. Male scholars, threatened by her intellect, dismissed her as presumptuous, their letters dripping with condescension. They mocked her for daring to enter their domain, questioning her right to speak on theology or philosophy. The Church, wary of her challenges to sacred narratives, cast a suspicious eye, her ideas skirting the edge of heresy. Socially, she faced isolation. Friends and patrons distanced themselves, fearing her reputation might taint their own. Despite this, Isotta pressed on, her courage unyielding, her words a defiant act of claiming space in a world that denied women such freedom. Her influence endures, a spark that lit the way for feminist thought. Though her works were not widely read in her lifetime, they survived, rediscovered centuries later by scholars who saw in her a pioneer. Isada's arguments for women's equality planted seeds that would bloom in later movements, her voice a precursor to those who would demand recognition for women's intellect and rights. She became a symbol of what was possible, her legacy a reminder that even in a time of rigid constraints, a woman's mind could break through, her words echoing across generations. While Isada's defiance was extraordinary, the resilience of everyday women was no less vital. Their quiet strength, woven into the daily fabric of life, sustained families and communities against the odds. Let's turn now to these unsung heroines, to the ordinary women whose small acts of endurance and solidarity built a foundation of hope. Their lives a testament to the unyielding spirit that carried them through a world that demanded so much and offered so little in return. In the bustling heart of a medieval village, from the 5th to the 15th century, women weave a quiet web of solidarity that holds their world together. Amid the grind of daily toil, they find strength in one another, their bonds a lifeline in a society that often leaves them voiceless. When a woman labors to bring a child into the world, she is rarely alone. Neighbors and kin gather, their hands steady with experience. Midwives guide her through the pain, murmuring encouragement, while friends bring broth or swaddle the newborn. This network extends to childcare, where women share the burden, watching each other's little ones as they tend fields or hearths. In these moments, they are not just mothers or wives, but sisters, their support a bulwark against the uncertainties of life. Amid the weight of their duties, women carve out fleeting moments of joy. Over spinning wheels or while kneading dough, they share gossip, their voices low but lively with tales of village life, a merchant's scandal, a neighbor's luck, or a husband's folly. Laughter spills out, a rare release that lightens the heart, if only for a moment. These gatherings, whether in a smoky cottage or a market square, are a sanctuary of sorts, where women can speak freely, their stories weaving a tapestry of connection. This shared laughter, these whispered confidences, are small rebellions against a world that demands their silence, a reminder that joy can bloom even in hardship. Mothers, too, pass down more than chores to their daughters. They teach survival itself. By the firelight, a mother shows her girl how to mend a torn tunic with quick stitches or brew a fever-reducing tea from wild herbs. She teaches her to haggle at market, to stretch a meager harvest into meals, to navigate the unspoken rules of a man's world. These lessons, given with love and urgency, are a legacy of resilience, equipping daughters to face the same trials their mothers endure. Through these teachings, women ensure their strength endures, a chain of knowledge linking one generation to the next, forged in the quiet moments of daily life. These bonds, between neighbors, friends, and kin, are a wellspring of strength, a quiet power that sustains women through the darkest days. In a world that seeks to divide them, pitting wife against wife or mother against daughter, their solidarity is a defiant act, a refusal to be broken. They share not just tasks but hope, their whispered encouragements and shared burdens a testament to their unyielding spirit. These connections, often unseen by those who rule, are the heartbeat of their communities, a reminder that even in oppression, women find ways to lift each other up. Yet, even as they lean on one another, women face daily challenges that test their endurance, including the struggle to maintain hygiene in a world without modern comforts. Let's turn now to this often overlooked battle, where the simple act of staying clean becomes a labor in itself, revealing another layer of the resilience these women summon to survive the relentless demands of their lives. In the raw, unyielding world of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a woman's daily battle with hygiene is a silent struggle, as grueling as any field labor. Managing menstruation is a task shrouded in discomfort and ingenuity. With no modern sanitation, women rely on makeshift pads, strips of folded linen, rags, or even moss, tucked beneath skirts, changed in stolen moments of privacy. These crude solutions chafe, leak, and demand constant washing, a chore done by hand in cold streams or shared basins. The shame of bloodstains, coupled with the church's whispers of impurity, weighs heavy, forcing women to hide their cycles while navigating a world that offers no ease for their body's natural rhythms. Bathing is a rare luxury, hindered by both practicality and fear. Water sources, rivers, wells, or springs, are often polluted, fouled by waste or livestock, making cleanliness a risk as much as a relief. Superstition adds another barrier. Some believe frequent bathing invites illness, weakening the body's defenses. A peasant woman might scrub herself once a month, if that using a wooden tub filled with tepid water, her skin never quite free of grime. Soap, if available, is harsh lie, burning her hands as much as it cleans. In cramped homes, privacy is a dream. She bathes near family or neighbors, her modesty sacrificed to necessity. The constant dirt clings to her, a reminder of a life bound to toil and scarcity. Washing clothes and linens is another relentless task, a labor that bends the back and cracks the hands. Women haul heavy baskets of soiled tunics, bedding, or rags to streams or communal wash holes, where they kneel on rocky banks, pounding fabric against stones or scrubbing with ash-based soap. The water, often icy, numbs their fingers, while repetitive motions strain wrists and shoulders. Drying is no less arduous. Wet linens are wrung by hand and hung on bushes or lines, only to be re-wetted by sudden rain. This cycle, repeated weekly, is a physical ordeal, each load a testament to a woman's strength, her efforts essential to keeping her family clothed and her home livable. Poor sanitation exacts a cruel toll on health. Unclean water breeds illness, fevers, dysentery, or skin infections that fester without treatment. Lice and fleas thrive in unwashed clothes and bedding, their bites a constant irritation, sometimes spreading plague. Menstrual rags, reused without proper cleaning, invite infections that linger untreated. The lack of sanitation ages women prematurely, their bodies worn by disease and exhaustion, their resilience tested by a world that offers no reprieve. Yet, they endure, their quiet ingenuity in managing these challenges a daily act of survival. While peasant women face these raw struggles, noble women navigate hygiene with relative ease, their lives cushioned by servants and resources, yet still bound by the era's limitations. Let's turn now to this contrast, to the world of the noblewoman, where privilege offers cleaner hands, but no escape from the era's sanitation challenges, revealing a shared thread of endurance that binds women across classes in their fight against the grit and grime of their time. In the towering castles of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a noblewoman's life glimmers with privilege, yet even her hygiene is a fragile dance with the era's limitations. Servants ease her burdens, hauling water warmed over fires to fill wooden tubs for her baths. Unlike her peasant sisters, she bathes more often, perhaps weekly, her skin scrubbed with coarse soap by attendants who guard her modesty in candle-lit chambers. Laundry, too, is spared her hands. Maids wash her silken gowns and linens in stone basins, sparing her the back-breaking labor of scrubbing by a stream. Yet, these comforts are a thin veil over a world where cleanliness remains a luxury, not a given, her privilege a small shield against the grit of her time. To mask the odors that linger in even the grandest halls, noble women turn to scented oils and perfumes, dabbing rosewater or lavender behind ears or on wrists. Flea furs, small pelts worn or carried, are a curious defense, designed to lure pests away from the body, their soft hairs a trap for the ever-present fleas. These furs, often ermine or sable, are both fashion and necessity, a wry nod to the era's constant battle with vermin. A noblewoman might glide through a feast, her gown shimmering, her fur draped elegantly. Yet beneath the grace, she itches as much as any villager, her refinement no match for the era's relentless pests. Even in castles, modern sanitation is a distant dream. Stone walls trap dampness, and privies, little more than holes over ditches, reek despite servants' efforts to clean them. Waste festers below, its stench rising through floorboards, while chamber pots, emptied daily, offer no true hygiene. Water, even for nobles, is often drawn from wells or rivers tainted by nearby refuse, making every bath a gamble. The grandest chambers, adorned with tapestries, harbor dust and mold, their splendor hiding the same filth that plagues humbler homes. A noblewoman's cleanliness is relative, her efforts at purity a constant battle against her environment. Fleas and rats are a universal scourge, sparing no rank. They scuttle through castle halls, nesting in bedding or gnawing at stored food, their bites a torment for all. Noble or peasant, women share this irritation, their skin marked by red welts, their sleep broken by scratching. These pests, beyond mere nuisance, carry disease, a lurking threat that binds all classes in vulnerability. The noblewoman's silks may shimmer, but they offer no armor against the vermin that crawl through her world, a reminder that even privilege cannot outrun the era's harsh realities. This shared struggle with pests and filth sets the stage for a greater terror that would sweep through Europe, sparing neither castle nor cottage. Let's turn now to the Black Death, a plague that reshaped the medieval world, its shadow falling heavily on women, who faced its horrors as caregivers, mourners, and victims, their resilience tested in ways that would leave an indelible mark on their lives and their society. In the mid-14th century, a shadow darker than any before sweeps across Europe, leaving villages and cities silent in its wake. The Black Death, raging from 1347 to 1351, claims up to 60% of the population, a merciless tide that spares neither young nor old, noble nor peasant. Streets once alive with chatter fall quiet, homes stand empty, and mass graves swallow entire families. The plague's symptoms, fever, blackened sores, agonizing pain, strike swiftly, turning neighbors into strangers fleeing the infected. For women, this catastrophe is both a personal loss and a call to action, their lives reshaped by a world unraveling around them. The air grows heavy with the stench of death, and fear clings like damp cloth. Yet women step into the heart of this horror, their resilience a faint light in the darkness. Women bear the weight of caregiving during the plague, their roles as nurses and mourners thrust upon them by necessity. In cramped cottages, a peasant wife tends her fevered husband or child, her hands cooling brows with damp rags, her heart breaking as they slip away. She risks her own life, knowing each touch could bring the disease to her door. In towns, women prepare bodies for burial, wrapping them in linen when men flee in fear. Their grief is raw, their loss is countless, children, siblings, kin, yet they carry on, driven by love and duty. Their hands, though trembling, become the last comfort for the dying, their presence a quiet defiance against despair. Convents, often the only refuge for the desperate, transform into makeshift hospitals. Nuns, trained in basic healing, open their doors to the poor, offering broth, prayers, and a place to die with dignity. These women, like those of the Franciscan orders, work tirelessly, their cloisters filled with the moans of the sick. They mix herbal remedies, change fouled bedding, and whisper psalms to ease fear, their vows of service tested by the plague's relentless toll. Many nuns succumb, their bodies joining the mass graves, yet their sacrifice gives solace to those with nowhere else to turn. These acts of mercy, though often unrecorded, weave a thread of humanity through the chaos, a testament to women's strength in the face of overwhelming loss. The Black Death reshapes society, leaving scars that linger. With so many dead, labor shortages shift power, giving surviving women rare chances to work in trades or demand wages. Yet, the cost is steep, families shattered, communities broken, and fear of recurrence haunting every day. Women, as keepers of memory, mourn the lost while rebuilding, their resilience shaping a new world from the ashes. The plague's devastation, though horrific, cracks open possibilities for change, even as it buries so much. This era of loss highlights women's roles not just in mourning, but in healing, a skill that defined many lives even before the plague. Let's turn now to those women, midwives, herbalists, and caregivers, whose knowledge of remedies offered hope, yet also placed them in peril, their healing hands both a gift and a risk in a world quick to suspect their power. In the villages and towns of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, women wield knowledge as healers, their hands a quiet force against pain and illness. As midwives, apothecaries, and herbalists, they are the backbone of care in a world with little medicine. Midwives guide mothers through the perils of childbirth, their steady voices calming fears as they deliver infants with skill honed by experience. Herbalists gather wild plants, yarrow for wounds, chamomile for fevers, brewing teas or salves in smoky kitchens. Apothecaries, often widows running small shops, mix remedies for aches or infections, their recipes passed down through generations. These women, armed with practical wisdom, are vital to their communities. Their care a lifeline where physicians, rare and costly, are beyond reach for most. Among them shines Trota of Salerno, a 12th century healer whose legacy endures. In the medical hub of Salerno, Trota mastered the art of healing, her expertise rivaling that of trained physicians. She wrote treatises, including On the Conditions of Women, a guide to childbirth and female health, blending observation with herbal lore. Her work, practical and precise, saved countless lives, offering relief to women in labor or suffering from illness. Trota's knowledge was a beacon, her writings a rare voice from a woman in a field dominated by men, her skill a testament to the power of learning in an era that often denied it to her sex. Yet, her brilliance came with peril. Trota faced trial for practicing medicine without male approval, a charge rooted in a society that distrusted women's authority. The church and local officials, wary of her influence, accused her of overstepping her place, her remedies viewed with suspicion in a world quick to judge. Though she escaped severe punishment, the ordeal marked her, a reminder that her healing gifts could be twisted into evidence of wrongdoing. Her trial was not just personal, but a warning to all women who dared to wield knowledge, their skills a double-edged sword in a society that prized control over compassion. This fine line between healing and witchcraft haunted every woman who practiced medicine. A successful remedy earned gratitude, but a failed one, or mere envy, could spark accusations of sorcery. Midwives, with their intimate knowledge of birth, were especially vulnerable. A stillborn child might be blamed on their spells. Herbalists, mixing potions by firelight, risked being labeled witches if misfortune struck. These women walked a tightrope, their expertise both valued and feared, their lives balanced on the edge of acceptance and condemnation. Their courage, in tending the sick despite such risks, was a quiet defiance, their care a gift to a world that often repaid them with suspicion. This danger, ever present, grew darker for those whose healing crossed into the realm of the forbidden. Let's turn now to the chilling reality of witchcraft accusations, where a woman's knowledge could become her doom, her life unraveling under the weight of paranoia and fear. Her very strength turned against her in a society eager to punish what it could not control. In the superstitious gloom of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, a healer's knowledge could become her noose. Women who tended the sick with herbs or eased childbirth with skilled hands often found their gifts twisted into accusations of witchcraft. A midwife's failed delivery or an herbalist's potent remedy could spark whispers, her success too uncanny, her failure proof of malice. Neighbors, driven by envy or fear, pointed fingers, claiming her salves were potions, her prayers curses. The church fueled this paranoia, its teachings branding women as prone to devilry, their wisdom a threat to a world that demanded their submission. A single rumor could unravel a woman's life, her healing hands recast as tools of dark magic. Once accused, a woman faced a nightmare of torture and sham trials. Dragged before a court of priests or magistrates, she stood little chance of fairness. Torture was routine. Iron tongs crushed fingers, weights stretched limbs, or water was forced down throats until she broke. Confessions, wrung from agony, were all but guaranteed. She would admit to pacts with demons or casting spells, words spoken to end the pain. These trials, cloaked in justice, were theaters of cruelty, with no need for evidence. her gender and knowledge were guilt enough. Crowds gathered to watch, their fear stoked by sermons, her fate a warning to others who dared to wield power. The toll was staggering. Roughly 80% of those executed as witches were women, their lives snuffed out by fire or rope. Burning at the stake was a common end, the flames consuming body and name, leaving only ashes and terror. Hanging too silenced countless voices, bodies left to sway as a grim reminder of the cost of difference. Thousands perished, from village healers to solitary widows, their deaths a brutal tally of a society's fear of women who stood apart. Each execution was a spectacle, meant to crush any spark of defiance, ensuring the rest remained meek. This persecution was no accident, but a reflection of a patriarchal need to control women's power. Knowledge, especially in women, unsettled a world built on male authority. Healers, with their ability to save or soothe, held a power that men could not govern, a threat to the order upheld by church and state. By labeling them witches, society could strip them of agency, their wisdom turned into proof of sin. Misogyny, woven into every sermon and law, drove these hunts, punishing women for daring to know, to heal, to exist outside the bounds of subservience. The witch trap was a tool to keep women small, their potential buried under fear. Yet, even in this darkness, some women shone with defiance, their courage a beacon against oppression. Their stories, though rare, proved that the human spirit could resist even the cruelest chains. Let's turn now to those exceptional women, whose bold actions and voices challenged the norms of their time, their lives a testament to the power of defiance, their legacy, a spark that refused to be extinguished in a world determined to silence them. In the quiet streets of 15th century Verona, Isotta Nogarola, born in 1418, stands as a beacon of intellectual courage, her life a bold challenge to the constraints of her time. Choosing the scholar's path over marriage, she immersed herself in Latin, philosophy, and theology, fields where women were rarely welcome. Her scholarly career was a rebellion, her mind a weapon against a world that sought to silence her. Isotta's writings, sharp and eloquent, demanded recognition for women's intellect, her voice rising in a society that preferred women mute. She penned letters, orations, and dialogues, each word a defiance of the notion that women were lesser, her scholarship a quiet revolution in an era that prized their submission. Isotta directly confronted the misogyny of male scholars, her pen a sword in their debates. In her dialogue, On the Equal or Unequal Sin of Adam and Eve, she argued that women bore no greater guilt than men for humanity's fall, challenging the church's narrative that branded women as sinful. She corresponded with learned men, her arguments dismantling their claims of male superiority with logic and scripture. These exchanges were not mere discussions, but battles, her intellect forcing scholars to reckon with a woman who refused to bow. Her writings, circulated among the elite, sparked unease, her boldness a threat to the fragile order of a male-dominated world. Yet, her defiance drew sharp ridicule. Male scholars mocked her, dismissing her as a woman meddling in men's affairs. They questioned her right to speak, their letters laced with scorn, branding her presumptuous or unnatural. The church, wary of her challenges, cast a suspicious eye, her ideas flirting with heresy. Socially, she faced isolation, her peers withdrawing as her reputation grew too bold for their comfort. Despite this, Isotta persisted, her resolve unshaken. Each word she wrote was a testament to her courage, her refusal to let ridicule or fear dim her voice, her scholarship a lifeline to a truth she would not abandon. Her role as a precursor to feminism lies in this unyielding spirit. Isotta's arguments for women's equality, though not widely embraced in her lifetime, planted seeds that would bloom centuries later. Her writings, preserved through time, inspired thinkers who sought to reclaim women's voices, her life a spark for those who would demand intellectual freedom. She showed that a woman's mind could challenge the deepest prejudices, her legacy a foundation for future battles against inequality. Isotta's triumph, though singular, echoes the broader resilience of women across the medieval world. From scholars to peasants, their courage, whether in bold words or quiet endurance, wove a tapestry of strength that sustained their communities. Let's turn now to these countless women, whose everyday acts of resilience, though less heralded, were no less vital. Their lives a testament to the quiet power that carried them through hardship, their spirit a flame that burned bright in a world that sought to dim it. In the bustling rhythm of medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, women weave a quiet strength into the fabric of daily life, their resilience a steady heartbeat beneath the weight of hardship. Though bound by a world that demands their submission, they find small ways to claim agency, carving out moments of control in a life not their own. A peasant woman might brew ale in her cramped cottage, stirring malted barley over a smoky fire, her recipe a secret honed over years. She sells the surplus at market, pocketing a few coins to buy cloth or ease a lean winter, her trade a subtle defiance of a system that sees her only as a wife. Another might barter her woven baskets, her fingers deft from practice, each exchange a step toward independence, however small. These women take pride in what they create and nurture. A mother gazes at her children, their rosy cheeks a triumph over hunger and disease, her heart swelling as they learn to churn butter or tend goats by her side. Her handiwork, whether a patched tunic or a loaf of rye bread, bears the mark of her skill, each stitch or crust a testament to her care. This pride is quiet, rarely spoken, but it anchors her through long days of toil. A weaver's cloth, dyed with woad, or a healer's salve, soothing a neighbor's wound, becomes a source of dignity, a reminder that her labor shapes the world around her, even if no one sings its praise. Communal support binds these women, a lifeline woven through shared moments. In the glow of a hearth, they gather to spin wool, their voices mingling in stories and laughter, offering solace from the grind. When one falls ill, another brings broth. When a child is born, neighbors lend hands to ease the mother's burden. These acts of solidarity, passed like threads through a loom, create a network of strength. A widow might teach a young bride to cure meat, their shared work a bond that defies the isolation of their roles. These connections, forged in quiet moments, are a rebellion against a world that seeks to divide them, their unity a shield against despair. Their resilience sustains not just families but entire communities. Women feed, clothe, and care for those around them, their labor the foundation of village life. They tend hearths that warm, weave cloth that shelters, and raise children who carry the future. Without their hands, the world would falter, yet their work goes unsung, their strength assumed until it's gone. Their endurance, born of necessity, is a quiet power, holding together the fragile threads of survival in a harsh world. While these peasant women find agency in toil, noble women face their own constraints, their lives bound by different but no less rigid expectations. Let's turn now to the world of the noblewoman, whose days, though cushioned by privilege, are confined by a domestic cage. Her role a delicate balance of duty and restraint, her resilience a mirror to the quiet strength of her humbler sisters, forged in a society that demands their service above all. In the echoing halls of a medieval castle, from the 5th to the 15th century, a noblewoman moves with practiced grace, her life a delicate balance of privilege and confinement. Her days begin with soft footsteps on stone floors, directing servants to polish silver or prepare spiced wine for guests. She sits by a window, her fingers guiding a needle through silk, crafting tapestries that tell tales of her family's glory. Her embroidery, intricate and time-consuming, is both art and duty, a symbol of her refinement. She oversees the household's rhythm, ensuring bread is baked, linens are pressed, and the chapel is ready for morning prayers, her every action a reflection of her status, yet always under the watchful eyes of her husband and kin. Despite her fine gowns and jeweled rings, freedom to pursue personal goals is a distant dream. Her education, if she has any, might include poetry or scripture, but it serves her family's needs, not her own desires. She may yearn to study astronomy or govern lands, but such ambitions are stifled, deemed unfit for a woman of her rank. Her husband's will, or her father's, if she's unwed, governs her choices, her life shaped by their plans for alliances or wealth. Her mind, though sharp, is caged by expectation, her talents bent to tasks that uphold her household rather than her own heart. Her role in maintaining family honor is relentless. Every gesture, from hosting a feast to greeting a lord, must be flawless, her poise a shield for her husband's reputation. A misstep, a poorly planned banquet, or an ill-timed word could shame her kin, her worth measured by her ability to uphold their name. She navigates courtly politics with care, her smiles calculated, her words measured, knowing her family's standing rests on her shoulders. This pressure, though cloaked in luxury, binds her as tightly as any chain, her life a performance where failure invites scorn. This confinement, though softer than a peasant's toil, mirrors the constraints faced by women across classes. The noblewoman's silks and the peasant's rough wool both cover lives bound by duty, their agency curtailed by a world that demands their subservience. Whether in a castle or a hovel, women are tethered to roles that serve others, husbands, families, communities, their own desires buried beneath expectation. The noblewoman's gilded cage, though glittering, is a prison still, her heart as tethered as her humbler sister's. This shared subjugation finds its strongest enforcer in the church, a force that shapes every woman's life with its teachings. Its doctrines, preached from pulpits and etched into daily rituals, cast women as lesser, their roles fixed by divine will. Let's turn now to the church's towering influence, where its grip tightens around women's lives, noble and common alike, reinforcing the chains that bind them to a world of submission, yet also offering rare glimpses of purpose for those who seek refuge in its folds. In the medieval world, from the 5th to the 15th century, the church stands as a towering force, its spires piercing the sky, its teachings shaping every facet of life. For women, it is both a chain and a key, reinforcing their subservience while offering rare paths to purpose. From pulpits, priests proclaim women's inferiority, their sermons echoing the tale of Eve, casting women as temptresses whose nature must be tamed. A woman learns to bow her head, her role as wife or mother framed as divine duty, her obedience to men, father, husband, or priest, mirroring her submission to God. These teachings, woven into confessions and masses, bind her to a life of humility, her worth tied to silence and service. The church's laws uphold male authority, justifying punishments for defiance and ensuring women remain under control, their spirits molded by a doctrine that sees them as lesser. Yet, within this rigid framework, convents offer a flicker of opportunity, a rare space where women can nurture their minds. Behind cloistered walls, nuns read scripture, copy manuscripts, or study herbs, their intellects sharpened in ways denied to most women. These sanctuaries, though bound by vows, allow a woman to step beyond the roles of wife or mother, her life dedicated to faith rather than family. Here, she might learn Latin, write poetry, or tend a garden, her days a blend of prayer and purpose. For a few, the convent is a refuge from marriage's constraints, a place where their voices, though quiet, can resonate in ways the outside world forbids. Among these women shines Teresa of Avila, born in 1515, a nun whose influence rippled far beyond her cloister. Entering the Carmelite order, Teresa found not just solace, but a calling, her mind ignited by visions and a fierce desire to reform her order. She wrote with passion, her works on prayer and mysticism challenging the church's rigid norms. Her book, The Interior Castle, mapped a soul's journey to God, its words bold and profound, earning her respect in a world that rarely valued women's voices. Teresa's leadership, founding new convents, gave her a rare authority, her faith a bridge to influence in a church that sought to limit her sex. This duality, control and empowerment, defines the church's role in women's lives. It binds them with doctrines that demand submission, yet offers spaces like convents where they can claim a fragment of agency. The same institution that preaches their inferiority allows women like Teresa to write, lead, and inspire, their contributions a quiet rebellion within sacred walls. This paradox shapes their spiritual lives, a delicate balance between oppression and opportunity, where faith becomes both a chain and a chance to rise above it. Teresa's radical vision, born in the quiet of her cell, points to a deeper defiance, one that pushed the boundaries of her time. Let's turn now to her extraordinary life, to the mystic whose writings and reforms challenged the Church's constraints, her voice a beacon of courage that illuminated a path for others, proving that even within the Church's grip, a woman's spirit could soar. In the candlelit stillness of a 16th century convent, Teresa of Avila, born in 1515, weaves a vision that defies the rigid bounds of her world. Her mystical writings, born from fervent prayer, pulse with a daring spirituality that reshapes faith itself. In works like The Interior Castle, Teresa maps the soul's journey to God, describing it as a series of mansions, each a step deeper into divine love. Her prose, vivid and intimate, speaks of a God who is not distant but nurturing, a radical departure from the stern, judgmental deity preached from pulpits. Her reforms, too, are bold. She founds new Carmelite convents, stripping away wealth and laxity, insisting on poverty and discipline. Her leadership, rare for a woman, challenges the Church's hierarchy, her pen a quiet revolution in a world that demands her silence. Teresa's visions are the heart of her defiance. She writes of encounters with Christ, moments of ecstasy where God's love feels tender, almost maternal, a stark contrast to the Church's male-centered theology. These visions, vivid and personal, invite believers to seek God within, bypassing the rigid rituals of priests. Her words challenge the notion that women are unfit for spiritual authority, her mysticism a claim to a direct connection with the divine. By sharing these experiences, she risks censure, yet her courage transforms her cell into a space of revelation, her faith a rebellion against a world that seeks to confine her spirit. Her influence on religious thought ripples far beyond her time. Teresa's writings inspire countless believers, her emphasis on personal prayer shaping Catholic spirituality for centuries. Her reformed convents, austere and focused, become models of devotion, her legacy cementing her as a doctor of the Church, a rare honor for a woman. Her ideas, once whispered in cloistered halls, spread through her books, offering a vision of faith that empowers the individual, particularly women, to seek God on their own terms. Her voice, bold and unyielding, becomes a beacon for those who dare to think beyond the Church's walls. Yet her theology carries risks. The Church, wary of mysticism, scrutinizes her visions, fearing heresy in her intimate portrayal of God. Inquisitors question her, their suspicions sharpened by her gender, her boldness a threat to their authority. To write and lead as a woman is to walk a perilous line, yet Teresa persists, her faith a shield against fear. Her courage, rooted in conviction, proves that even within the Church's grip, a woman's spirit can soar. While Teresa's vision lights a path for the few, most women face a far humbler reality, their days consumed by relentless toil. Their lives, though less heralded, pulse with a resilience no less profound, their endurance a quiet echo of the mystic's courage. Let's turn now to these women, whose daily grind of labor and survival weaves a tapestry of strength, their lives a testament to the unyielding spirit that carries them through a world that demands everything. In the dim light of a medieval cottage, from the 5th to the 15th century, a peasant woman begins her day before the sun rises, her life a relentless cycle of labor that binds her to survival. She kneels by the hearth, coaxing embers into flame to boil a pot of oats, her hands dusted with flour as she shapes bread for her family. Cooking is a constant task, stirring pottage, roasting roots, or preserving scraps of meat for winter, all over a smoky fire that stings her eyes. Sewing follows, her fingers pricking as she mends tunics torn by work or patches blankets worn thin. Childcare weaves through every moment. She soothes a crying infant, teaches a toddler to stack kindling, or braids her daughter's hair while whispering lessons for survival. Each task, from dawn to dusk, is a thread in the fabric of her family's existence, her hands never idle. her work the pulse of their home. The physical toll of this labor is unyielding. Repetitive motions, stirring, scrubbing, lifting, grind at her joints, her wrists aching from hours at the loom, her back bent from hauling wood or water. Calluses harden her palms, her knuckles swell from cold and strain, and her eyes strain in the dim light of a single candle. Hunger gnaws at her, her meals meager, leaving her body frail, yet forced to endure. The constant bending, carrying, and kneeling wears her down, her youth fading under the weight of tasks that never pause, her strength a quiet defiance against a body pushed to its limits. The absence of modern conveniences makes every chore a battle. Without plumbing, she treks to a stream or well, hauling heavy buckets that slosh against her skirts, her shoulders aching under the yoke. Water, often murky, must be boiled or strained, a task that steals hours. Washing dishes or clothes means scrubbing by hand, her fingers raw from lye soap, her knees bruised from kneeling on rocky banks. The lack of sanitation breeds illness, fleas in bedding, mold in damp corners, yet she fights to keep her home livable, her efforts a daily struggle against a world without ease or comfort. Her contributions, though vital, are invisible, fading into the rhythm of life like breath into air. She feeds her family, clothes them, keeps the hearth burning, yet her work goes unpraised, assumed as her duty. Men's labor, plowing fields or forging iron, earns tales in the village, but her endless tasks are expected, their value unspoken until they falter. Her resilience, though it holds her household together, is a silent force, her sacrifices buried beneath the weight of necessity, her strength the unseen foundation of her community. Yet, amid this grind, women find small joys that lighten their load, moments of connection that spark hope. Let's turn now to one such joy, storytelling, where women gather to share tales by firelight, their voices weaving legends and laughter, a fleeting escape that binds them together and offers solace in a world that demands their every moment. In the flickering glow of a medieval hearth, from the 5th to the 15th century, women gather in the evening's quiet, their hands busy with spinning wheels or embroidery needles, their voices weaving a different kind of thread, stories. As wool twists into yarn or silk takes shape under careful stitches, they share tales, their words a warm escape from the day's relentless toil. A mother might recount a legend of a brave maiden outwitting a dragon, her voice low and rhythmic, while her neighbors lean in, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. These moments, stolen from the grind of survival, are a sanctuary, a space where women connect, their stories a balm for weary hearts. These tales, passed down through generations, carry the weight of tradition. Grandmothers whisper fairy tales of enchanted forests or cunning heroines to wide-eyed daughters who will one day share them with their own. Legends of saints, like Genevieve who saved Paris with her prayers, or myths of spirits haunting the woods, blend with local lore, tales of a village girl who bested a cruel lord. Each story is a thread in a tapestry of memory, linking women to their ancestors. These oral traditions, told in smoky cottages or castle solars, keep history alive, their rhythms etched into the minds of those who listen, a legacy carried on breath and heart. Storytelling is more than entertainment. It's a way to teach and dream. Through tales, mothers impart lessons, courage, wit, or caution, to daughters learning to navigate a harsh world. A story of a clever wife outsmarting a thief teaches vigilance. A fable of a kind heart rewarded plant seeds of hope. These narratives let women dream beyond their constraints, imagining worlds where they are heroes, not just laborers. For a moment, a peasant woman spinning flax can be a queen in her tale, her imagination soaring where her body cannot. These stories, shared in whispers, offer a fleeting freedom, a chance to envision a life unshackled by duty. This act of storytelling preserves culture, binding communities through shared myths. Women, as keepers of these tales, hold the soul of their people, their voices ensuring that songs, beliefs, and histories endure. A tale told by firelight might recall a long-ago harvest or a healer's triumph, keeping the past alive for children who listen. These stories, though rarely written, are a woman's legacy, their power undimmed by a world that overlooks their tellers. In their telling, women weave resilience and hope into the fabric of their lives, their words a quiet defiance of silence. Yet, these moments of solace are but a pause in a life of unyielding demands. Let's turn now to reflect on the broader tapestry of these women's lives, where their resilience, woven through labor, love, and stories, stands as a testament to their enduring strength, a quiet force that shaped their world and echoes still in the centuries that followed. As we stand at the edge of the medieval world, from the 5th to the 15th century, we look back at the women whose lives wove a tapestry of unyielding strength. These women, peasants toiling in fields, noble women navigating gilded cages, healers risking accusation, and mystics defying silence, carried their families and communities through a world that demanded their submission. Their days were filled with relentless labor, from hauling water to soothing children, their hands shaping the very survival of those around them. Despite the chains of patriarchy, they found ways to resist, whether through quiet acts of agency, shared laughter, or bold words that challenged the order of their time. Their resilience, often unseen, was the heartbeat of their era, a force that held together homes, villages, and legacies against the weight of hardship. These women, though bound by their time, laid the groundwork for the freedoms we cherish today. Their small defiances, brewing ale to earn a coin, teaching daughters to question, or penning truths in the face of scorn, were seeds planted in rocky soil, blooming into the slow march toward equality. Scholars like Isolde Noguerola, mystics like Teresa of Avila, and countless unnamed women who endured violence, loss, and toil showed that a woman's spirit could not be fully broken. Their courage, whether in a convent's quiet or a village's clamor, carved paths for future generations to walk, their sacrifices the foundation of rights we now take for granted. Each step they took, each story they told, was a brick in the road to our present, their strength a gift across centuries. Their legacy lives on in the families and communities they sustained. The children they raised, taught to survive and dream, carried forward their resilience. The tales they shared by firelight, the skills they passed down, and the bonds they forged wove a cultural fabric that endures. A peasant woman's bread, a noble woman's tapestry, a healer's salve. These were not just tasks, but acts of love and endurance, threads that held society together. Their names may be lost to history, their stories rarely written, but their impact echoes in the traditions, values, and strength of those who followed. Their lives a quiet force that shaped the world we know. Let us honor these women, not with pity, but with gratitude and resolve. Their sacrifices, bodies worn by labor, spirits tested by oppression, demand our recognition. We owe it to them to remember their stories, to speak their truths, and to carry forward their fight for dignity. Pause to think of the woman who rose before dawn, her hands calloused but her heart fierce, and let her strength inspire us to challenge injustice today. Their lives remind us that resilience is not just survival, but a legacy, a call to stand tall in the face of adversity. As we reflect on their struggles, we see their echoes in the challenges women face today, where battles for equality and agency persist. Let's turn now to this connection, exploring how the courage of medieval women resonates in modern fights. Their legacy a spark that lights our path forward, urging us to honor their past by shaping a fairer future. As we stand in the modern world, the echoes of medieval misogyny still resonate, a reminder that the chains binding women from the 5th to the 15th century have not entirely vanished. Today, women face wage gaps, underrepresentation in leadership, and the persistent weight of societal expectations, shadows of a past where their worth was measured by obedience and service. The medieval woman's struggle, her voice silenced, her body controlled, her labor unseen, finds parallels in modern battles, from workplace discrimination to the fight for bodily autonomy. Though laws no longer codify a husband's right to dominate, subtle biases linger, questioning women's competence or dismissing their ambitions, a legacy of a world that once branded them as lesser, yet progress since those firelit days is undeniable. Where medieval women were barred from education, today's women fill universities, their minds shaping science, art, and policy. Where once a woman's defiance risked a witch's pyre, now her voice can spark global movements, amplified by platforms unheard of in the past. Legal rights, voting, property, and protection from violence stand as victories won through centuries of struggle, each step a testament to the resilience of those who fought before. The convent's rare refuge has given way to broader opportunities, with women leading nations, healing bodies, and writing their own stories, their agency no longer a whisper, but a roar. Still, the fight is far from over. Equality remains a horizon, not a destination. Gender-based violence persists, women's voices are still drowned in some corners, and systemic barriers block paths to power. We must continue this work, dismantling biases that linger like medieval shadows. Every step forward, whether in laws, workplaces, or homes, is a tribute to the women who endured, their sacrifices demanding we push for a world where no one's worth is diminished by their sex. Their courage calls us to action, urging us to challenge injustice with the same tenacity they showed in the face of oppression. Let us honor these medieval women as inspirations, their lives a spark for our resolve. The peasant who toiled, the healer who risked accusation, the mystic who dared to write. They are not just relics of history, but beacons for today's fight. Their quiet defiance, their refusal to be fully broken, reminds us that change is possible, even in the darkest times. We carry their strength in our bones, their stories urging us to stand tall, to speak loudly, and to build a future where equality is not a dream, but a reality. As we hold their legacy close, let's turn now to one final woman whose impact burned bright, a figure whose courage and vision left a mark on her time and beyond. Her story, like those before, is a testament to the power of a single voice, a reminder that even in the face of relentless constraints, one woman's defiance can light the way for generations to follow. In the turbulent heart of 15th century France, Isabeau of Bavaria, born around 1371, emerges as a figure of extraordinary resilience, her diplomatic triumphs a testament to a woman's power in a world of chaos. As queen consort to Charles VI, whose periodic madness plunged the court into disarray, Isabeau navigated a treacherous landscape of warring factions and foreign threats. Her intelligence and adaptability shone through as she brokered alliances and mediated disputes, her influence a steadying force in a fractured realm. Her presence at the 1420 signing of the Treaty of Troyes, which aimed to end the Anglo-French conflict by naming Henry IV of England as heir, was a bold, if controversial, act of diplomacy, reflecting her commitment to peace, even at great personal cost. Her efforts, though later maligned, showcased a queen who wielded her intellect to hold a crumbling kingdom together. https wikipedia.org Wiki Isabeau of Bavaria. https www.britannica.com Biography Isabella of Bavaria. As regent during Charles VI's bouts of insanity, which began in 1392, Isabeau stepped into a role few women of her time could claim. When her husband's mind faltered, she governed in his name, sitting on the Regency Council and acting as guardian to the Dauphin, her son. Her authority was unprecedented, her decisions shaping France's path through the Armagnac-Burgundian Civil War. She shifted allegiances strategically, aligning with the Burgundians or Armagnacs as needed to protect the throne's future, even enduring imprisonment by the Armagnacs in 1417. Her ability to govern amid such turmoil, while raising 12 children, 7 born after her husband's illness began, reveals a woman of iron will, her regency a beacon of stability in a storm of political strife. https n.wikipedia.org Wiki Isabeau of Bavaria. https www.medievalists.net 2016-01 Isabeau of Bavaria, Anne of France, and the History of Female Regency in France. Isabeau's survival of relentless challenges marks her as a cunning survivor. She weathered accusations of adultery with Louis of Orleans, unproven but vicious, spread by rivals to tarnish her name. The loss of 2 sons to illness and the murder of another in political feuds tested her heart, yet she persevered. Childbirth itself, a perilous ordeal, she endured 12 times, each delivery a gamble with death in an era of crude medicine. Political intrigue swirled around her, assassinations, betrayals, and the English occupation of Paris, where she died in 1435. But Isabeau outlasted it all, her resilience a shield against a world that sought to break her. Her patronage of Christine de Pizan, a voice for women's dignity, further shows her quiet defiance, fostering ideas that challenged her era's norms. https://n.wikipedia.org Wiki Isabeau of Bavaria. https www.encyclopedia.com Women, Encyclopedias, Almanacs, Transcripts, and Maps Isabeau Bavaria 1371-1435. Her contributions to French stability, though marred by the Treaty of Troyes' failure, were profound in their intent. Isabeau's mediation between factions and her role as regent kept the monarchy afloat during Charles VI's incapacity, preserving the throne for her son, Charles VII, despite her earlier disinheritance of him. Her actions, driven by a desire for peace, held France together long enough for Joan of Arc's later victories to reclaim the crown. Isabeau's legacy, once clouded by propaganda, shines as a testament to a woman who wielded power with courage, her life a bridge between chaos and recovery. Isabeau's story, like those of countless women, demands we look beyond the surface to the strength beneath. Let's turn now to a final reflection on these women's lives. Their stories a chorus of resilience and defiance, their voices calling us to honor their struggles by weaving their legacy into the fabric of our own fight for justice and equality. As we linger in the glow of medieval Europe's fading light from the 5th to the 15th century, the stories of its women, peasants, queens, healers, and mystics, rise like embers, warm and enduring. These tales, often buried beneath history's louder voices, carry a power that binds us to the past. Telling their stories is not just an act of remembrance, but a reclaiming of their humanity, a way to honor the women who toiled, loved, and defied in a world that sought to silence them. Each narrative, of a mother's quiet lessons, a scholar's bold pen, or a queen's steady hand, reveals a strength that shaped their time and echoes into ours. By speaking their names, we breathe life into their struggles, ensuring they are not forgotten, but celebrated as the heartbeat of their era. These women's stories are the threads of cultural memory, weaving a tapestry that holds the soul of their communities. A peasant's tale, shared by firelight, preserved village traditions. A nun's manuscript, copied in a cloister, carried faith across centuries. Their voices, whether whispered in a hovel or written in Latin, kept alive the legends, values, and wisdom of their people. Mothers taught daughters to survive, healers passed down remedies, and storytellers spun myths that outlasted stone castles. Without their words and work, the past would be poorer, its colors dimmed, its lessons lost. Their stories, though rarely written, are the roots of our shared heritage, grounding us in the resilience that carried humanity forward. I invite you, dear listeners, to keep these tales alive. Share them with friends. Tell them to your children. Let them ripple through your communities. Speak of the woman who brewed ale to feed her kin, the mystic who dared to write, or the queen who held a kingdom together. These stories are not relics, but living bridges, connecting us to a past that shapes our present. By retelling them, we honor their sacrifices and draw strength from their courage. Their lives a reminder that every voice matters, every struggle leaves a mark. In sharing these stories, we foster empathy and understanding today. The medieval woman's fight against oppression, violence, and silence mirrors battles still fought, her resilience a spark for our own. Her stories teach us to see the humanity in those society overlooks, to listen to the silenced, to fight for a world where all are valued. They remind us that our shared humanity transcends time, linking us to those who came before and those who will follow. As we close this journey, let's carry these women's stories forward, their strength a guide for our own paths. Join me for a final farewell, where we'll honor their legacy one last time, inviting you to stay connected to this tapestry of history, to keep exploring the tales that bind us, and to let their courage inspire us to build a world where every story is heard and every voice is free. As the embers of our journey through medieval Europe, from the 5th to the 15th century, glow softly in the twilight, I thank you, dear listeners, for walking this path with me. From the quiet corners of your world, whether under a starry sky or nestled in a cozy room, you've joined me to uncover the lives of women whose strength shaped history. Your presence, across time zones and continents, has woven us into a fellowship of curious hearts, drawn to the stories that linger in the shadows of the past. Your willingness to listen, to imagine, and to feel their triumphs and struggles has brought their voices to life, and for that, I am deeply grateful. If these tales of resilience, of peasants toiling, queens navigating treacherous courts, and mystics defying silence have stirred your heart, I invite you to like and subscribe. By doing so, you'll ensure we can continue this journey together, exploring more stories that breathe life into history's forgotten corners. Your support keeps these voices alive, letting us honor the women whose courage echoes through time. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're listening from, what moved you, or whose story you want to hear next. Let's keep this tapestry of connection growing, thread by thread, story by story. As you settle into the quiet of this moment, perhaps drifting towards sleep, let your mind linger on these medieval women. Picture the peasant woman, her hands calloused but her spirit fierce, stirring a pot over a smoky fire. See the noblewoman, her embroidery a silent rebellion against her gilded cage. Hear the mystic's whispered prayers, her words soaring beyond stone walls. Their lives, though bound by hardship, were acts of defiance, their resilience a spark that lights our own paths. Let their stories cradle you tonight, their strength a gentle reminder that even in the darkest times, hope endures. This is not the end, but a pause in our exploration. There are more tales waiting, hidden voices of women who shaped their world with quiet courage, their stories yearning to be told. I promise to bring you more, to uncover the lives of those who loved, fought, and dreamed against the odds. Together, we'll wander deeper into history's heart, finding the women whose legacies refuse to fade. Their stories are our inheritance, a call to listen, to learn, and to carry their light forward. For now, dear traveler, let the weight of the day slip away. Close your eyes. Let the echoes of these women's lives fill your dreams, dreams of resilience, of shared laughter by firelight, of hands that wove a world despite its chains. May their courage inspire you, their hope guide you, and their strength carry you into a restful night. Sleep well, knowing we'll meet again to unearth more stories, to honor the past, and to weave a future where every voice is heard. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the unbreakable spirit of those who came before.